What the world needs right now, and what many brilliant minds are devoted to discovering, is how to stop COVID-19. A few days ago, an Australian company announced it hoped to begin human trials of a vaccine within weeks. But in other countries, especially China and the United States, developing and owning a coronavirus vaccine has become a biotech arms race with political overtones. As Tom Steinford explains, there are fears that scientific victories will also be seen as superpower supremacy.
5, 3, 2.
The space race between the Soviet Union and the United States in the 20th century was the chest-beating competition to prove who was the world's superpower. Now, the US and China are competing in a modern-day race with much bigger consequences that may well again set a new world order for decades to come. Who will own the coronavirus vaccine?
Unfortunately, the vaccine could become a chess piece.
It could become a chess piece, and quite a powerful one.
Coronavirus has changed the world, and realistically, there's no way we can safely get back to life as we knew it until a vaccine is developed. It's the biggest scientific challenge our generation has faced, but it may end up being a geopolitical battle as well.
President Trump has been accused of trying to lure a German pharmaceutical company working on a coronavirus vaccine to the US.
America is pulling out all stops.
Trump offered large amounts of money to secure CureVac vaccine exclusively for the US.
We are going to come out of this pandemic with an intensified US-China strategic competition, and we have to be ready for a more dangerous outlook in the future.
Malcolm Davis is a senior analyst at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, who I first met in Vanuatu 2 years ago to discuss China's increasing power plays in the Pacific. He believes that while China suffered more than anywhere else in the early days of coronavirus, it's now the nation that has the potential to emerge strongest in the wake of the pandemic.
The Chinese will certainly see this as an opportunity to promote their rise. If they can develop a vaccine quickly, or if they can demonstrate that they've got their pandemic under control quickly, they'll use that in their favour.
We often look at this in a human sense, but not a strategic sense. If we do it that way, it seems America's wounded and China's resurgent.
This is a potential opportunity for the Chinese to promote their interests at the expense of the US. They will certainly not waste that.
What are the benefits that you see for the nation that develops the vaccine first?
Look, I think there's real political and economic benefits. But if we want to be cynical about this, the nation that develops the vaccine, particularly if it's China, can use that as a way to influence other states to align with them.
But others are more concerned with what President Trump has been up to. The German government hit out at the US administration after reports emerged that Trump had tried to purchase CureVac, a German pharmaceutical company at the forefront of coronavirus vaccine research.
Once we have that machinery in the fourth building, we can make hundreds of millions of doses of the coronavirus vaccine. So we're very excited about that.
The American CEO of CureVac was feted as a guest of the president at the White House last month. But when the news emerged a few days later of a potential US takeover for strategic purposes, he left the German company, effective immediately, without any comment.
Were you surprised to see the reports of the Trump administration trying to buy your organisation?
Yeah, very, very surprised.
Dr. Lydia Oostvogels heads up the Infectious Diseases Research Unit at CureVac, the German company President Trump reportedly tried to buy. Did you take it almost as a feather in your cap that they see you as the world leaders right now in potentially developing this vaccine?
Well, it's always nice to be desired. but yeah, I mean, it's not how we work or what we do. But I don't think that there was a lot of consideration, because I think it was very clear also for my bosses that, I mean, this was not something that was going to happen.
People around the world normally cheer on rock stars and athletes. All of a sudden the world is right behind people like you, scientists.
Yeah, I mean, we have been there for the whole time in the background trying to improve health. I mean, I was speaking with a friend of mine who is an epidemiologist, and he said, well, at least now people know what an epidemiologist is.
Despite being considered a frontrunner to develop the first coronavirus vaccine, Dr. Oostvogels still believes people need to have realistic expectations about just how long this will take. She thinks about 18 months. What would it mean to you if you developed the vaccine that took on coronavirus?
Well, it would mean protecting people against a deadly disease, people that I know and people that I don't know. So it would mean it would be a great accomplishment, and I would love to protect them.
Have you ever faced a project like this before?
This is unprecedented. Certainly in the past we've dealt with epidemics, but nothing that has been spreading this quickly globally with this magnitude of disease.
Seth Berkley is CEO of Gavi, the global vaccine advocacy group. From tetanus to hepatitis B to Ebola, their aim is to make vaccines available to everyone, not just the wealthy or the powerful. Dr. Berkley says remarkable research is being done on COVID-19, and all of it in record time.
Well, it has been unprecedented. We've seen now there are 70 vaccines that are in development. Some say maybe double that number. We've seen vaccines get into a vial within 42 days, clinical trials within 63 days. If we think about the normal procedures, 10 to 15 years for a vaccine, this is unprecedented cooperation and drive by the science community.
But unfortunately, experience tells Dr. Berkley that while scientists embrace collaboration, politicians often don't. Some people are calling this a biotech arms race between the US and China. Do you see any of that brinkmanship there?
I think that there are geopolitical concerns that are going to happen in a situation like this. And I think, I understand that leaders, their primary duty is to protect their citizens. And so sometimes that means competing with others. So I think the challenge for us is making sure that the competition leads to good outcomes and not to hoarding and non-sharing of information, which would be really challenging.
As far as strategic analyst Malcolm Davis is concerned, rivalries surrounding vaccines are just a sign of bigger challenges to come. What does all of this mean for Australia?
I think it puts us in a difficult position because we'll see the US-China competition intensify. And that's not just about vaccines or domination of biotechnology sectors. It could see China making moves in the South China Sea or against Taiwan with military force because they see they have a window of opportunity here. You have 4 US aircraft carriers now with COVID-19 aboard. The potential for reduced US military readiness in the Western Pacific is quite real. So I think there's real danger coming ahead.
It's hard for me to speak about the motivation of any individual government, but I think what's really important to understand is that science is global, and so does this effort need to be. I think nothing says that like this particular outbreak, which started near a small wet market in China, and within 3.5 months was in over 180 countries.
Right now, it's strange to see our cities so devoid of human activity. They've come to a grinding halt, almost like we're living in a twilight zone. But there are more than 100 international science teams working on a vaccine, including right here in Australia. And thankfully, politics isn't their problem. There is only one challenge they're focusing on, and the world is cheering them on. How does this differ to everything you've worked on in your career?
Well, I mean, this one is so acute and so new, and it's also so visible, and people are putting a lot of expectations on the work. It's a vaccine to save. Yeah, I mean, it sounds a bit dramatic, but to save the world in a way.
Hello, I'm Sarah Arbo. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.